when we are at one of those moments where we've hit maximum dysfunction. Even as I say those words, Norm, I think I'm inviting disaster. That it's they always find a way for there to be more dysfunction. As maximum dysfunction is a term that recedes in the distance.
Yeah.
We always think we approach it, but here we are. We have a shutdown. The president of the United States this morning, he's taking this very seriously, put out a social media post in which via AI he is rendered into the Grim Reaper, and he's ringing a bell saying the Reaper is coming. This is tied to his threats to turn this shutdown, unlike
Yep.
any other shutdown we've had in the past, into a political assault on his opponents. So he's cutting funding to projects in blue states, energy projects, infrastructure projects. He's threatening big cuts in personnel in the government, but they're approaching that a little more cautiously because apparently they feel that that may produce some backlash. But there is backlash because the majority of people in the country blame this on the Republicans, as they should. And the Democrats have been semi on message on this thing. They've shown a little discipline around the healthcare issue. They want to put at the center of it. And I just want your assessment of where we are in this particular shutdown that is unlike any other shutdown.
So, David, I want to move beyond dysfunction to use three I words: indecent, illegal, incompetent. Uh, Illegal, let me start with that. What Russell Vought and the other members of the Trump cabinet are doing during this shutdown is illegal. They are withholding funds and canceling contracts only in blue states illegally and firing employees when it is illegal to fire them. They are being furloughed. Um, Indecent because among those who are not going to be furloughed are the huge number of ICE and FBI agents who are doing utterly indecent things, including, after the shutdown just yesterday, one of the most appalling things I have seen in my lifetime in America, which is a huge number of these thugs from the FBI and the ICE team descending on an entire apartment building, breaking down doors without either warrants or probable cause, taking babies and young children naked out of these apartments, including American citizens, zip tying these kids in what will be traumatic for the rest of their lives, and throwing them into vans, taking American citizens and not being concerned with looking at any of their IDs to see that they're American citizens, and throwing them into detention. All of this is going on during a shutdown that is being caused not just by Donald Trump, but by John Thune and Mike Johnson. And it is John Thune who I met when he was a fledgling senator from South Dakota and viewed him basically as a pretty decent guy, a standard issue conservative who's now turned into an amoral at best monster who laughs when Trump puts up a vile racist AI video of his counterpart, Chuck Schumer, and of Hakeem Jeffries, and who made sure that there would be no negotiation over the healthcare cuts that are going to destroy a lot of people's lives. And then watching one of my favorite members of Congress, the wonderful Madeline Dean, confront Mike Johnson in the corridor in the Capitol to say, you need to call out this president for his racism. and recognize that he is mentally unstable. To which Johnson replied, this caught on hot mics, well, some of your people are too, and making it clear that he knows, just as his colleagues know, how awful Donald Trump is. But they all go along with this. And where we end up with this, with Russell Vought, the head of the Office of Management and Budget, trying to use this to blow up government illegally. And I want to add one more element of the indecency, which I learned about this morning, and that is furloughed Department of Education employees having their emails hacked by their agency so that any outgoing messages from their emails say, I can't answer because the Democrats have caused a shutdown, a violation of the Hatch Act. And we've seen many of those, including messages put up on official websites. And they're getting away with this stuff. And, we are in uncharted and really frightening territory, David. So that's how I would start. I didn't want to ruin your upbeat mood for the day, but it's my job every week when we do this.
It is true. You are Debbie Downer on steroids,
Yes.
but for good reason. But I want to pick up on a sort of under discussed element of this that you, as uh, um, our leading scholar of the Congress, may have a perspective on, but mostly that you, as somebody who knows a lot of people on the Hill, might have a perspective on it. It links to your statement about Thune, but also to the statement about Mike Johnson, because I had lunch with a guy yesterday or a couple of days ago who is, a real Washington insider. He runs one of these advisory firms. He kind of a big one, and he's a decent guy. I like him a lot, and uh, he said to me that he knows Mike Johnson very well, and that they have lunch periodically, and he says Mike Johnson's a decent guy, and he said he knows what's going on here. And if you get him behind closed doors, he thinks what Trump is doing is excessive. um, and I keep constantly hearing people who say shit like that, and you were saying it about Thune. And you know you know I mean, they watch the same TV, they read the same newspapers, they see what's going on. They see the videos of the babies being dragged out of places. They see the budget deficit exploding. They see the crazy anti-science lunatics at the Department of Health and Human Services. And yet people are saying, well, they're good guys. They understand. How can you be a good guy and go along with this stuff? When do we set aside the good guy benefit of the doubt that we are giving all of these people who are collaborating in this catastrophe?
So I would say almost a working definition of indecency is somebody who knows that what's going on is evil and works to make sure it continues and justifies it, lying over and over again. The fact is, Mike Johnson, whose title is Speaker of the House, is Speaker of Trump and has abandoned any of his moral standing and basically legitimacy by what he is doing. So if there is anybody who is indecent, it's Mike Johnson. And I will say, David, I've heard the same thing from people who are good friends with John Roberts, and what a good guy is John Roberts, and how, yeah, he makes some decisions that we wouldn't agree with, but he's basically a really decent guy. Well, John Roberts is going to go down if we are ever able to write the history, and God knows whether the history will be written by these evil people. But if we are ever able to write the history, John Roberts is going to go down as one of the premier villains of our time. Not only did he dismantle the Voting Rights Act and bring back Jim Crow and dismantle a century of campaign finance regulation and allow dark money by evil billionaires to dominate our political process. But he engineered not just this immunity decision, but all of the decisions that have followed that have extended the ability and willingness of Donald Trump and the people around him to do horrific and indecent things and to violate every standard. And it was the Roberts Court that at one point just sort of said tentatively, well, there is still habeas corpus. People still have their rights to be able to appeal any of these decisions, and is stood by while things like Chicago occur, while people are illegally deported and without any hearing, while those who are arrested and are American citizens ask for a lawyer and don't get the ability to call a lawyer, while we see video of a house where agents are outside and the people inside say, "Do you have a warrant?" and are told, "You watch too many crime shows, lady," then break down the door without a warrant and without any probable cause. And Roberts and the five partisan hacks alongside him not only justify it, but basically fortify it. So the idea that just because these people are really nice when you go to lunch with them or are good to their neighbors, that, for a long time, we hesitated to use the Nazi analogy. There were all kinds of people who were good to their neighbors and then betrayed their neighbors and sent them off to concentration camps. We saw this, by the way, in the former Yugoslavia, where you had Serbs and Croats living next door to each other and, turned in their neighbors to be shot. Uh, the idea that people are decent when they're doing indecent things and that you should justify that they know better but still do them, showing a level of moral cowardice which is absolutely appalling. While people who are taking an oath of office and serve on the Supreme Court allow distortions of the Constitution and fundamental rights, we call them out. We don't justify it.